Hi everyone, TardisGuy123 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Doom Coalition 2. So Doom Coalition is a 16-part epic released in 4 box sets of 4 stories, and currently we are now halfway through that journey with the release of Doom Coalition 2 earlier this month. And well, when it was first announced, well, not first announced as in we literally got details of Doom Coalition 1 along with Doom Coalition 2, 3 and 4 are coming, but when we actually got details of Doom Coalition 2, such as the appearance of River's song in it, I was admittedly sceptical, and this was before Doom Coalition 1 had even come out, I think, when we got the announcement that River was going to be in it. So, yeah, admittedly, my faith was a bit shaken, and I thought, will I actually get Doom Coalition 2? Because I wasn't the best fan of River's song, I'll be honest. On TV, she had gone downhill quite a bit for me. Not too much to do with Alex Kingston's performance, but more just to do with the writing. The whole Series 6 arc really threw me off her character. I liked her before that, and admittedly, I still enjoyed parts of her character after that. But ultimately, she was just sort of hanging around, really. Didn't feel like Stephen Moffat knew what really to do with her. But then we came to the release of Doom Coalition 1, and I liked the first 2 stories from that. I really did enjoy the Red Lady a great deal, and the 11 was incredible as well. And when I say the 11, I mean the story, and, well, the character was incredible also. And, you know, well, the second 2 stories from that box set, The Galileo Trap and The Satanic Mill, didn't exactly inspire confidence in me for what was to come. I did still enjoy the first half, so I bought the second box set off the strength of that. And, well, you know, we'll get on to more about that in the review, whether it lives up to the first 2 episodes or follows in the footsteps of the second 2 episodes instead. But anyway, along with the announcement that River was going to be in this box set, she also got the announcement of her own spin-off series, The Diary of River Song, coming out before that in January this year, and I did pick that up and I was blown away by it, and I will do a proper review of that, but I was honestly blown away by it and fell in love with River's character, really did. It was great to see her in the hands of different writers and see what they could do with her, and it really is a strong story, and I think that did actually help hype me up a lot more for Doom Coalition 2, knowing that River was in safe hands with Big Finish and that she could be a good character if given the right material, because Alex Kingston was a fantastic actress, but especially during the latter half of her run, wasn't always given the best material in my opinion. But anyway, that's just my opinion. So now let's move Doom Coalition 1 here off to the side and take a look at what Doom Coalition 2 has to offer on the cover here. So then you got Helen, got Liv, got River, and of course you've got Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor. And then you got Doctor Who Doom Coalition 2. You got sort of like a green theme going on for this box set, well, at least on the cover. On the top here, you have a similar thing going on there, same images of the Doctor and River there. Flipping it onto the spine now. Can I fit that all in? Yes, I can. You have Doom Coalition, Doctor Who Doom Coalition. You got the 8th Doctor on the spine there, and then you got 2. And Big Finish down there. Flipping it off to the side here, we have minor blurbs for the individual stories. We do get bigger ones in the actual discs themselves. And then we've also got directed by Ken Bentley and Big Finish We Love Stories once again. And as I showed you a second ago, there is a better look at the spines for each story. Now let's jump in to the first of the box sets, Beachhead.
We can go anywhere, can't we?
What we need is peace and quiet. Stegmore off-season, the perfect retreat. Largely deserted, bracing walks, beautiful views.
Sounds good.
When have I ever let you down?
So Beachhead is the story which kickstarts this box set, and it is written by Nicholas Briggs, returning to the Eighth Doctor after quite a long break, actually. The last one he did was the first story from Dark Eyes to The Traitor, so it has been a long time, really, and he sort of like reintroduced Liv to the world of Doctor Who with the Eighth Doctor. She had been in one audio before that, which was also written by Nicholas Briggs, actually, I believe, Robophobia. So he returns once again to his creation here, kind of, and you know, that's quite interesting to see how much has changed with Liv since that, and also with the Eighth Doctor since Nicholas Briggs left the character behind after he was basically in charge of the character throughout the Eighth Doctor ventures, and very much Dark Eyes 1 and sort of Dark Eyes 2 as well. That was sort of like the handing over of the reins to Matt Fitton to take control. But yeah, also we have the Voord here, and the Voord were first introduced way back in 1964 with the first Doctor story, The Keys of Marinus, and they were created by Terry Nation, who also created the Daleks, in case you didn't know, and they were created to sort of like combat the popularity of the Daleks. As you can imagine, it didn't go so well, really. They're not that well remembered, to be honest, but you know, die-hard Whovians do remember them quite well. They have appeared in some other forms of media, such as the World Shapers comic, which I have a friend who won't shut up about. But yeah, you know, it's they've had a bit of a rough history, really, and you know, Big Finish finally got hold of them a couple of years back with Domain of the Voord, which kickstarted the early adventures. Now they've got hold of them again here with Beachheads, and it's Nicholas Briggs writing them, so how can you go wrong there? Well, we'll get on to how you can go wrong in a bit. But anyway, take a look at the cover here now, that you've been looking at for quite a while now, but you've got a female Voord there, Ishtek, who is the leader of the Voord in this story, and then you've also got some seagulls in the background, and you've got Paul McGann, of course, as the Doctor, and you've got sort of like the sea/flood going on there, and you've got a nice sky going on there with sunset, sunrise, hard to tell. And flipping onto the spine here, have a look at that again. Back here, got a blue theme kind of going on there, and got a cropped image of the front cover there. And then you have the larger blurb, the cast, flipping it up so you can view the disc there now. And behind the disc we have Dark Eyes, all 4 box sets right there. And if I just take the booklet out quickly, I have Doom Coalition 2 on the back there, same cover as you saw already on the front there. Writer's notes on the inside. Oh, and an image of Nicola Walker there also. So now for some plot details on this story. Nothing too spoiler or anything like that, just the basic premise going on here. It's basically the Doctor, Liv and Helen taking a holiday after their battle with the 11 and decide to go to Stegmore, which is described as the perfect retreat by the Doctor, and you know, it's basically a British countryside town, really, and I do love that sort of setting. I'm a big fan of an Avengers episode, which name I can't remember. I think it's the Town of No Return. That sounds about right. It's the first to feature Miss Peel, and is it's rather incredible, really. I do quite like that one, and I sort of like got vibes from that when I read the synopsis for that and saw where this one was going there. It is brought up to date quite a bit. It's set in 2017, so it's even in the future a bit there, and that provides some interesting stuff for Helen, being that she's from the 1960s, so she could potentially still be alive here and even have friends or family still alive here. But that's not dwelled on too much in this story. But yeah, it's quite an interesting premise there. But there's also a mystery from the past going on too, particularly the Doctor's past, and a mistake he may have made a long time ago during the 70s, or was it the 80s? But yeah, so naturally from this seaside town you've got to have a threat, and that threat does come in the form of the Voord exiting their spaceship that has been unearthed on the beach. And, ultimately I do think that this story isn't the best start to the box set. Now, it's standalone. It's very standalone from the rest of the box set. There is some hints there, and it does sort of like propel the story onward at the end, but the episode itself, the plot of this one, is very standalone from the rest of the box set, which is fine. I think that can work. A Life in the Day at the start of Dark Eyes 4 did that brilliantly, but here I feel that quite a few mistakes were made with this one, unfortunately. Now, for starters, I would have preferred a 60s setting for this one, to be honest, because the Voord, they originate from the 60s. As I mentioned before, the Town of No Return, this Avengers episode that was obviously done and set during the 60s. So I feel that Nicholas Briggs, loves nostalgia, so he could have quite easily gotten away with that. Maybe he didn't want to take the easy route, I don't know. But I think that would have been a good route to take, really, sort of having that setting, having that nostalgia going on there. I think that would have worked quite well for this one. So there was a mistake there made already, but not a irredeemable mistake. Things could get better from there. And it did also provide an interesting mystery plot to go on because of that. But I won't get too much into that because I don't want to spoil the details of that. However, one thing I will say is that said mystery plot takes up a bit too much of the story, to be honest. And when you've only got 50 minutes to play with, really, well, Nicholas Briggs could have written more, but he does end up whittling it down to only 50 minutes, which is a shame, really, because it doesn't help that at all. This story does have pacing issues for the most part. It spends way too much time with the mystery side of things that it doesn't really get into the action until it's far too late, and then you only really get a little bit of Voord action, unfortunately. That's not to say this story doesn't have any good points. There are quite a few things I did enjoy about it. Voord, while there, are very good. Not exactly great. They don't have much individual, well, nothing to set them apart from most other monsters, but nevertheless they are good for what they are. Especially Ishtek, the leader. She has quite a good character going for her there, and the actress does a very good job with that. And then also you have quite a few nice background characters, really. You have some interesting things going on with them there, some mysteries, and as I say, this one is very much about the mystery, a bit too much about the mystery in some senses, as already mentioned, but nevertheless those characters are good for what they are, and yeah, they have a lot of heart to them, especially the younger one, whose name I forgot. It's very much about a mother and daughter relationship here, which I feel they could have played off of a bit more, really, but you can't have everything here, and it is a single mother as well, which plays into that dynamic quite nicely also, I would say. And then you have one other character, well, two other characters actually, but they're very much off to the side. They're not really doing that much to advance the plot. They're just really there to fill in space, really. So yeah, more narrative devices than actual characters. But the actresses and actress and actor, do a good job with those characters, and they serve their purpose, I guess. And overall, I did get a fair bit of enjoyment out of Beachhead. I think I did enjoy some of the mystery while it was there, but at the same time, I do think it probably should have been less of it, or should have been at least 10 more minutes added onto this story, so we could get more of the Voord, more of that going on, and also better resolution to that plot. It's a 6 out of 10 for me on Beachhead. Not the best start to the box set, but now we move on to the second story, Scenes from Her Life.
That, Helen, Liv, that is a TARDIS.
A TARDIS?
Quite an old one from the look of it.
We're going to crash into it.
Not if I can help it.
Scenes from Her Life follows on from Beachhead in that it is sort of like following a clue, trying to solve a mystery that was set up at the end of Beachhead. And this is sort of like the story that propels us through the rest of the box set, and is quite interesting for that. It's about the Doctor, Liv and Helen finding this strange structure inside the time vortex itself, and instantly that's an interesting setting. So well done, John Dorney, for that. And it also provides some interesting characters at the same time. And it's about a mysterious experiment going on, because what else are you going to have in a castle like this? So you do get shades of Frankenstein in that. Maybe not as many as I would have liked. Maybe it's not as gothic as I was hoping for with this one. But nevertheless, it is quite interesting in that respect. But anyway, before I say any more my opinions, let's take a look at the cover here. You've got the Doctor there, and then you've got these two characters here whose names I have forgotten, but I know they're sort of like a king and queen of their castle in the time vortex. You've got the Doctor's TARDIS down there, and then you also have all this wonderful stuff going on in the red background here. Twisting it to the side there, you can see the spine. Got a red theme going on the back here. Got the Doctor there. It's part of the crop from the front cover. Blurb cast. Opening this up now. Have disc there. Infernal Devices and Only the Monstrous are behind that disc. And I have done reviews of both of them if you are interested. If not, then fair enough, that is your choice. And now, as I struggle to get, here we go, I got the booklet out in the end. That's the back of the booklet. That's the front of the booklet. I don't know why I'm showing you the back first. It's not exactly interesting, but nevertheless, there's an image of the cast there. Quite a nice image, to be honest. It shows a lot of character, really. Hint. And there you have some writer's notes from John Dorney. So John Dorney did write the incredible Red Lady from the first box set, so I had quite high hopes for him in this one. Maybe they were a bit too high, to be honest. Maybe I was expecting more from this than we actually got. It's not much of a horror story. It's not like Red Lady was, and I think maybe it was set up that way because it sort of like had that whole Frankenstein element going onto it, the whole plot to create a monster, which was referenced in the blurb on the website. You know, maybe that was sort of put me off on the wrong track here when I went in to listen to this and then got something different. I don't know, but either way, I was a bit thrown off from this one on first listen, to be honest. And you know, that's a shame, because it was a marvellous concept to have this great city in the time vortex, but at the same time I was just a bit thrown by it, unsure what to think really. But nevertheless, I got on from that, and on the second listen I did enjoy it a lot more for what it was really. And I think you very much have to temper your expectations when going into this story especially, and the box set as a whole, I would say. But yeah, Scenes from Her Life is... the title refers to something quite interesting, and I won't get into that too much. Well, I won't get into it at all really, except that I didn't understand what they were for a moment. I didn't understand what was going on. It did take me quite a while to put the pieces together, and I did work out that more on second listen, and I feel that was a bit of a mistake. I mean, sometimes it's nice to have that thing where you go back and find more layers, you understand things more, but you know, at the same time, when understanding is more crucial to the enjoyment, I think it did very much take away from my enjoyment of the first listen, which was a shame really. And also, the audio mixing on this one, I don't know, maybe it's just my copy, but it wasn't the best really. I mean, it was very quiet at times. I found myself turning it up, then turning it down again, then turning it up again. Yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't the best on this one, especially when it came to these two characters here. Conversations between them two, I found myself adjusting the volume quite a bit, unfortunately. But as I say, maybe that was just my copy. But yeah, anyway, those two characters, while we're on the topic of them, they are quite interesting. They have quite a lot of interesting dialogue. I'm going to check their names actually. I think it's Lorm Stormblood and Lady Sepultura. That's hard to say. But yeah, something like that. Lady something or another. But yeah, Lorm Stormblood is quite an interesting character. They are very much a double act, you know. It's all like that classic Robert Holmes thing. going on there. Well, it's not really classic Robert Holmes. I mean, double acts have existed in comedy for ages, really, but Robert Holmes was the one who really pioneered them in terms of Doctor Who, and these are very much a classic in terms of that. But at the same time, I do feel that when the Doctor gets thrown into the mix, that comedy does improve a bit, because when they're on their own, they're okay. The comedy's passable, but when you get the Doctor there, you know, you need that stray character to sort of like parallel that comedy and to increase it at the same time. And the Doctor does that very well, and I think that's when the comedy is at its height in this one. Companions now, Helen and Liv. Helen was obviously first introduced in The Red Lady, so John Dorney sort of was the first to put his mark on her, and now he gets to return to this character, and she does give some interesting things to the character here, I will say. And you know, there is sort of like a reflection into her self, and she gets to meet another character who she says has quite a few similarities with. And also Liv in this story doesn't get as much to do, but she does get one nice character moment between herself and another character who she made a promise that she may not be able to keep to. So I think that was fairly interesting at the same time. So it was nice to have that little bit in there, even if it wasn't much. But you know, I wasn't expecting much, to be honest, in terms of that, because you do have limited runtime in these one-disc stories, and when you've got two companions, it can be a little bit difficult to find time for both of them. So the way to do it often is to prioritise one and then prioritise the other in the next episode or the one after that or whatever. And you know, I feel this was very much one that was a priority for Helen, but Liv still gets a good amount to do as well. John Dorney doesn't just leave her in the TARDIS for the runtime or anything like that. Not referring to Kinder at all there. But you know, it's a good story, I would say. On second listen, when I understood what was going on, maybe it was just me that wasn't understanding it, maybe other listeners are smarter than I was and we'll get it first time. But you know, it did require a second listen to sort of like put things together properly and smooth it out a bit more. And overall, it's going to get an 8 out of 10 from me, because I did enjoy quite a bit of this story, even if I had to listen to it twice to really get what was happening here. So now let's move on to the third story in the set, The Gift.
Darkness is coming. It'll trample uncounted lives.
You know nothing!
It's a quake! Madre mia!
So, The Gift is written by Mark Platt, and it appears it's the closest we're coming to a proper celebration of 20 years of the 8th Doctor and 15 years at Big Finish, to be honest, because he is back where he died and was reborn. He is back in San Francisco, but this time quite a few years earlier. I think it's 96 to be precise. It's set in 1906, I think's the date, and it's when there is a massive earthquake and quite a big probably the biggest historical event for San Francisco, really, and it's very much plays off of that. So then, the cover here, you have the Doctor and Helen there. You've got some newspaper stuff going on in the background, and you have some coins flying about. You've got a green theme going on this time. Let's flip it to the side there, you can see that. Flip it to the back here. See, once again, the green theme continued. You've got a crop there of the front cover again, blurb, cast. And I must say that while in Dark Eyes 4, when I got the physical copy for that, I was a bit thrown by them using the different colours and whatnot. I've grown used to it now. I think it works quite well, to be honest, having the different colours shading over the normal stuff, and that was an advertisement for the aforementioned Diary of River Song. Let's get the booklet out now. Yeah, I do quite like the way they've got each story having its own individual coloured theme and little mini title sequence bit on the front cover there. As you can see, that's what I'm going on about. And yes, those were writer's notes and cast image, by the way. So The Gift does follow the trend of this box set in that first listen, wasn't a fan. Second listen, enjoyed it quite a bit more. This one, I would say, is Well, it's an interesting one, really. And, I think it's got some interesting characters. Well, one interesting character in particular, really. And it's hard to talk about this because, these last 3 stories do very much interlink quite a bit. It's hard to talk about this one in any great detail because it does link quite heavily to events of the previous one, which I don't really want to spoil. And at the same time links to events in the finale, the Solomancer, which I also don't want to spoil. So this one's particularly awkward to talk about, but I can talk about one rather interesting character who is Charles Virgil McLean. I think that's right. Let's check quickly because I don't want to get this wrong. Yes, it is. I was right. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that. So yeah, Charles Virgil McLean is a very interesting character here. He's sort of like a theatre owner, well, I think not theatre owner, but sort of like, he's an actor, and he's also sort of like a theatre manager, theatre group manager. He gets all the people together, gets them all in the right place, directs, and puts the play together pretty much, and he's trying to make his definitive version of King Lear here. And the opera's in town at the same time, so he's rather down on his money. And he's having to look around other places to get some loans and whatnot, loans which he may not be able to pay back, and loans that he really does want to pay back because the type of people he's loaning from aren't the best type of people to be loaning money from, really. So yeah, I think in that respect, he is a very interesting character, and probably the most rooted in reality character that we have in Doom Coalition 2, and he's quite fascinating from that respect. And he is of course American. This is set in San Francisco after all, and he's just a very interesting character, I will say. Unfortunately, he does go a bit downhill during the 3rd act. Something happens to him that makes his character very different, and thus he is not as likeable, to be honest. He was a bit of a what's a nice word for it? Well, he wasn't the nicest of people, really. He was quite rude to all those around him, especially those trying to help him. He did have a young female actor friend, who I will quickly look up on the back here. Ethel, that was it, Ethel Halliday. And she was a very nice character, and they sort of had a double act going on between them, and he was absolutely horrid to her, but at the same time he did care for her quite a bit. And he's one of those characters where he says a lot of things, but he doesn't really mean them. He does have a heart under all that rough exterior, and he was a very interesting character during those first 2 acts. Actually, you can't help but love that character, I would say. He is very interesting, and I did very much fall in love with him on second listen. But yeah, as I say, the 3rd act did ruin his character a bit, and his sort of like less than social niceties, I should say, weren't exactly pleasant during that 3rd act, and it did make me sort of go on the character a bit. He wasn't the best, but there was sort of a reason for it, so I guess he can't be forgiven for that. Then at the same time, the 8th Doctor does go on a bit of a post-regeneration type thing here. Not to actually do with regeneration, but he just has one of those mad 5 minutes, really, where at the start of this story he runs out the TARDIS and decides he's going to get a haircut just because, and he does get driven a bit crazed because of some mysterious force that is at work here. And so, I didn't really enjoy those moments, to be honest. I mean, some people do enjoy those more jovial moments with the 8th Doctor. I personally do like the 8th Doctor having fun, but just the way it went about it here, I didn't really enjoy those moments, to be honest. And also, sort of like, the general premise for what's going on here, which has something to do with all those coins flying about. Reminds you a bit of Mario Kart, I guess, but yeah, or Sonic, I don't know, not that well versed in games, but anyway, as I was saying, it didn't really get me. Well, I didn't really get it the first time I listened to it. I thought, this is a bit weird, I'm not sure why that's happening, what is this, But second listen, I got a chance to get used to it a bit more, and helped me enjoy the rest of the story because of it. And like the rest of the story, well, like Charles Virgil MacLean, sorry, it's not like good first act, very good second act, rather meh third act. However, one thing I will say about the third act is those scenes of the destruction of San Francisco and the aftermath of it are very well done. Well, the structure of it itself is very much just a load of noise blended together, really. But after that, when you sort of like get Helen's reaction to the destruction, and sort of like the way she just describes it all and how it's unimaginable compared to what she's seen before, it really is incredible, I think. And that's where audio really can work quite well, when you've just got a character describing these things. It does sort of like work extremely well to paint that world, really, and paint what it's like from the character's perspective, how they see this epic amount of destruction, this truly devastating event, which was a real historical event. And it doesn't sort of like go jovial with it. It does treat it very seriously, and Helen's reaction is probably one of her best scenes I have ever listened to. It is simply wonderful, that is. Shame most of the rest of the story couldn't really live up to that. It's getting a 7 out of 10 from me. That was the gift. And now we move on to the finale of the set, the Sonomancer.
That's what I do. Explore, investigate, troubleshoot. This planet's future history is wrong.
The Sonomancer here is the finale of the set, and it's where River Song and the 11 finally jump into proceedings and give things a much needed kick. So then, let's take a look at the cover here. You've got the 8th Doctor and the 11 side to side there. You've got an eye there. Not exactly sure who that's meant to be, although I can make a guess, but I won't reveal what that guess is. River Song down there. You've got the title sequence bit going on there. You have the spine there. Flipping it over to the back here, we have, same as always, crop image from the front, then just blurb and cast. Looking here now, you have the one disc there for the story, and then if we flip it over, you can see the one disc there for behind the scenes. And if you want to know how that is, that simply just clips like that. And as you saw back there, I'll just show you that again, is an advertisement for Unit Extinction, which is getting the light shined on it. There you go. And finally, we have the last booklet, which I'll just get out now. You have some production credits on the back this time, rather than just the standard Boom Coalition followed by the title. On the inside here, we have writer's notes, and some images of the cast right there, and there is the cover once again. So then, Big Finish has had a bit of trouble when it comes to their box set finales, I find. At least, a lot of the last releases of the box set don't really satisfy me in a lot of ways. I think, things like The Triumph of Sutekh, I think, what was it called? The Tears of Isis, the last one's that. Didn't enjoy that so much. Other box sets, Dark Eyes 3, you had Rule of the Eminence. That wasn't the best conclusion. It's happened to me quite a few times. Doom Coalition 1 did it as well. But here, Matt Fisher is writing, and he does a magnificent job. This is my favourite of the set, actually, and I don't think I've ever had that before, that the finale was my favourite of the set. But here, that is the case. The Sonomancer is an excellent story, really, and it's based on this planet Syra, which is like this volcanic planet. Lots of earthquakes, which sort of ties in to the gift, and that's sort of like a bit of the connective tissue through the box set, although I won't say any more. and very much River Song's there investigating some strange goings on. Future history is wrong, as she says, and there's a mining corporation there as well getting in her way. And there's also the 11 and another character there as well, although I won't say any more about that character. But it's quite interesting how that character is done, and it's very much, the whole box set is sort of like that character's origin story really. And I didn't expect that going in. I'm not sure what I expected going in, to be honest. I was expecting a bit more 11. This story is the only this story is the only story with the 11. Seems Her Life does have a little cameo, but that's all really. So this story does have the 11 back in full swing. I love the 11. Matt Fitton is the perfect writer to write for him. He does an excellent job with that character. Mark Bernard does an excellent job portraying that character, bringing him to life. And I think during this story, he's used as a bit more of a henchman role to that other villain character. But, well, I can say the name really because it's a title, the Sonomancer, but that's all I can say actually about that. So if you wanted to know what the title is referring to, now you know, but can't say any more. So Mark Bernard, wonderful job here, some wonderful scenes, especially with between him and Nicola Walker. He and Liv do sort of have a bit of a fight going on here, and that's quite interesting. It does very much split off the characters into their own story strands really. Liv very much has to deal with the 11, so that's quite interesting. The Doctor has to deal with the Sonomancer, which is probably the least interesting part of the story, to be honest, I'm afraid. The part that got Paul McGann in it ends up being the least interesting. That's a bit of a shame. It's not much. It's not at all to do with Paul McGann's fault. It's more just that I wasn't as interested in that plot line compared to the other two, and also it wasn't the best written either. And also, I'm not very sure about the character of the Sonomancer. But then the third storyline is Helen and River Song, and also like the mining corporation and the locals as well. So you got 3 different story strands there, and well, we've talked about Liv and the 11 a bit now. I did really enjoy that bit, and there's also a quite interesting hint at Liv's past in this story, which might be setting up something for a future box set. I hope so, because I would like to see what they talked about there explored a bit more. But anyway, then we have River Song and Helen going about, and they make a wonderful double act. They have this wonderful friendship going on between them, and can't say too much about that because obviously River Song can't meet the Doctor at this point, and so sort of part of the fun of listening to stories, working out how they're going to get around that. And Helen does play quite a crucial part in that as well. However, I do feel at the same time it does undermine Liv's character a bit, but I won't go into that too much. And maybe they will rectify that, because there does seem to be some hint that River will be coming back, possibly Doom Coalition 3 even. So that should be quite exciting. But she is a wonderful character in this. She has some wonderful dialogue as well, and it is really good, that part of the story, I will say. And overall, it does all come together quite nicely. All these 3 strands do flow together quite well. You have some nice synergy going on there, and overall the story, it has lots going on, as you can tell from the 3 story strands, but it doesn't waste any time really, and it's just a blockbuster story, this one. It's an epic episode. It all comes down to action packed. Stakes are high, not too high, I will say. I didn't really get much feel for the stakes, but I would say they are fairly high, and that works quite well for this story. There's still some mystery going on though. There is still, what is the Doom Coalition, and we don't entirely get our answers here, but we do get some interesting hints as to what's going on, and hopefully Doom Coalition 3 will answer those questions for us, and then Doom Coalition 4 will wrap everything up nicely. Because, at this point in the series, I don't want too many answers. I do want some mystery to remain throughout the entire set, because Dark Eyes was very much sort of, well, 3 individual stories, I'd say, in some ways, because Dark Eyes on its own was very standalone. It was meant to be standalone, then they sort of added Dark Eyes 2, 3 and 4. 2 and 3 linked together quite well, then 4 was sort of like on its own at the same time. But, you know, while they did all tie together, Doom Coalition looks as if it's going to be tied together a bit more nicely, really, because of the way it's panning out. So, yes, I think the Solomancer is, well, as I've said, my favourite of the set, really. Not my favourite of the Doom Coalition series overall. I think that still goes to Red Lady, followed by Liv, but this is definitely 3rd place here. You know, it doesn't quite have the depth that those 2 stories had, but it does nevertheless have a lot of fun going for it. And I think that's ultimately the way I would sum up the Solomancer. It is just a great deal of fun, really. And, you know, it's a 9 out of 10 from me. So now let's talk about my thoughts on Doom Coalition 2 overall. So then, Doom Coalition 2 overall, I did sort of start to say my overall opinions during the Solomancer section. But, you know, nevertheless, I'd say Doom Coalition 2 overall, it's a decent box set. Not particularly strong. I would say it's very average for the most part. It doesn't have a particularly amazing standout story like the Red Lady and the 11, although Solomancer does come pretty close to that. At the same time, you know, I do feel that this box set does have its problems. You know, wasn't that fond of the Solomancer character, that overall villain. Wasn't very fond of the way things were going with that plot strand, and you know, hopefully things get back on track with Doom Coalition 3 is what I can say about that. But, you know, at the same time, it does have its strengths. I will say, you know, the individual stories are enjoyable. There is some fun to be had in this box set. You know, Doom Coalition 1, it had 2 very strong stories and 2 rather weak stories. This one more has just average to good stories, really. It's not so extreme. So at the same time, it's hard to compare in that sense, because, you know, you buy Doom Coalition 1, you get 2 very good stories, so you get high value in that sense, but at the same time you get 2 not so good stories. Doom Coalition 2, however, it's just sort of middling, really. It's not the best. You're not going to be blown away by anything in this set, but at the same time, you're not going to be overly disappointed with anything in the set, is what I will say there. Ultimately, should you pick up Doom Coalition 2? I think if you did enjoy the last 2 segments of Doom Coalition 1, even though I personally didn't, then, you know, you would probably like to pick this up, I'd say, and I'd say go for it if that's the case. But if you weren't that fond of the last 2 parts of Doom Coalition 1, or even Doom Coalition 1 as a whole, but you're still somewhat interested in Doom Coalition plot overall, I'd say it's probably best to wait and see what people say about Doom Coalition 3 and 4, because ultimately I will say Doom Coalition 2 will depend a lot on Doom Coalition 3 and 4 panning out okay. So I hope that is the case with those 2, and I hope they can make up for their mistakes in these first 2 box sets, and, you know, expand the strengths of these first 2 box sets at the same time. So yeah, it's hard to say which box set's better. For me, I personally prefer Doom Coalition 1 because I love those 2 stories a lot, the 11 and especially the Red Lady. But Doom Coalition 2 is still enjoyable, I will say. I will give it a 7 out of 10 overall. Not the best Big Finish has done, but, you know, not the worst either, I will say. So yeah, hopefully things get back on track with Doom Coalition 3. But, you know, the time will tell. We don't know what we're getting from that one, except that the first story will be written by John Dorney. I believe it's set in London, and it's supposed to be a character piece about Liv and Helen and the Doctor. So hopefully something in the vein of A Life in a Day there. Fingers crossed for that. But anyway, thank you for watching. Next review will be either The Chase or The Dalek Invasion of Earth. Haven't quite worked out which yet. But I hope you have enjoyed this review, everyone. I've enjoyed recording it, to be honest. I did, admittedly. This is the second take. First one I wasn't happy with. This one, however, I am happy with, and I hope you are too. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.
I think I might have made a terrible mistake.
Is it me, or does this volcano sound angry?
Volcanoes are always angry when they're asleep.
I'm Helen Sinclair. Who are you?
Professor River Song.
Everybody down!
Where are you? Levchenka? Doctor?
Stay precisely where you are.
I've just been out for some fresh air.
Still less than...
No, wait! No more killing!
Commander.
No! Someone or something has altered established history.
So very, very special indeed.
Doctor?
You're the doctor?
You've heard of me?
No.
Oh,
You're saying there was a time machine here?
How is it possible?
It's a gift, senor.
I know this city. I died and was reborn here.
What can you do? A pathetic human against a Time Lord?
Oh, you want a fight? You've just got one!
Now I have here